When we landed on Aeternum, we landed for many purposes. We had no idea what to expect, and we had no idea what we might find. What we were pretty positive about was that anything we saw come to New World would be directly from the Old World. And now we know this is not the case. Come with me as we explore the new threat to the New World, and how some of the changes might just make your grind just a bit easier. And away we go. Welcome to another update video right here for New World. Remember, if you like the algorithm, if you want to help us with this YouTube algorithm, please like and or comment on the video. It helps a ton. It really does. It shows the video to a whole bunch of other people. It helps us grow, and I really appreciate it. So if you like these and you'd like to see more, please let me know. Okay, now let's actually look at what has been added to New World over the last few weeks. I know we've taken a little bit of a break on updates, but we've got tons of them to talk about today. So first, the Void Gauntlet is finally in the game. It's time for our first new weapon. That's awesome. Finally, there's a perfect pairing of weapons for healers. Obviously, the Void Gauntlet pairs very well with a couple other things like the other magical weapons or the rapier and the musket, but it is very specific. Well, I shouldn't say very. It is pretty specifically bonused for healers, because it is now the second in the whole entire game, the second weapon to actually scale off of focus. It also scales off of intelligence, but it scales off of focus, which no other thing has done yet other than the life staff. So the Void Gauntlet is meant to be used as sort of a life steal and buffing, debuffing weapon. So it kind of does everything that a healer hasn't been able to really do yet. We've seen a lot of going for other pieces of damage. We've seen a bunch of other things, but now we have something that is meant to literally terrorize your enemies, both PvE and PvP. Obviously, you can't terrorize an AI, but you can terrorize a player, and that's very much what it seems like it's meant to do. It's pretty scary. From what I've seen so far, there's a lot of cool stuff. I haven't been able to level one fully yet to 20, not even close, but it is really cool. I got to see it in the PTRs. I'm sure a lot of you did as well. And now that it's in the game, I'm sure a lot of you are still playing with it. There's a lot of cool stuff to see there. There's obviously a new weapon quest that shows up in Reekwater. Probably has a lot to do with the other stuff we're talking about today, and we'll check that out. For me, it's hard to say that any weapon is broken or overpowered, but I think there have been some categories and some examples of what could be argued for that. Like say the hatchet when the preview was out and the beginning of the game, and kind of a little in between as well. The Great Axe had some exploits. The Fire Staff has some exploits. I would say that if those weapons worked as they were intended and didn't have those exploits, they'd be pretty balanced, which is why I say it's kind of hard to say that. However, outside of that, and because, you know, not everything's perfect, or sometimes not even close to perfect, it has those problems. But again, give it time and it'll happen. So to round out the Void Gauntlet, there are two trees, like all weapons have. The Annihilation tree that focuses on the Void Blade. It's like think of, if you're a Mass Effect fan, kind of like an Omniblade, which is focused on melee combat. You get to do right in the middle of a fight. You get to jump right in, kind of Captain America style, and just start fighting things, you know? Drop dots on your enemies, and pretty much not let them escape, because there's some roots in this tree as well, so it's pretty good. And then you have the Decay tree, the Decay side, which is the right side. It's really good for just chaotically throwing everything you have into a scuffle, either PvE or PvP. It really is, it's meant to be more distance-based on that tree, so it kind of like the hatchet and kind of like the spear. There's more of a melee tree and there's more of a distance tree. Kind of has both of those going. The Decay is more of a distance tree, and it really, if you see a bunch of people scuffling kind of like in a cartoon cloud of fighting, you just throw what you got at them. There's a big ball of void energy you just throw through it, and it heals your allies and it debuffs your enemies. So it kind of does everything at once. Both trees are extremely useful, but they, like I said, they provide a different style, sort of. So it's important to keep that in mind. I haven't been able to playtest too much, or theory craft too much on how I would mix and match them, because it kind of feels like you want to pick one side or the other. But yeah, so play with those styles, see what you think, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff to talk about when it comes to the Void Gauntlet. I'll do another video, like I'll mention a couple times throughout this video, that I'll do another video focusing on these things, but I wanted to talk about the updates first and get it out there, and we can spend some more time thinking about it and playing with things while the bugs kind of get squashed. Okay, another thing that has been added to the game has introduced a new enemy faction. If you watched the PTR video that we did, you heard a little bit about new enemies on all the existing factions, and I did talk about the new enemy faction as well, but I wanted to go over it one more time because I think some people have seen it and sort of learned a little bit about it. At the same time, I don't want to spoil anything. So, one of the cool things is there's an entirely new faction with new lore, new stories, new characters, new everything. I'm sure that there's quite a bit of people that don't care about the lore in this game, but I actually think it's really cool. So if you're like me, you'll appreciate that they're adding more stuff like this. I'll do a lore video as well. Like I said, just like the Void Gauntlet, I'll do a lore video talking about it more, but I don't want to put it in this video because I don't want to spoil anything for people who are just here for updates. I get it. You can take your time on something like that. So there are a few surprises. But for the most part, what I will tell you is Amazon talked about this in the patch notes, so I think it's okay to talk about. These are the Varangian Knights, and they're led by a guy named Lord Commander Attalus. He's known for brutality and a cruel sense of humor. He's an interesting character. I don't know exactly how deep he goes yet, but it definitely fits the motif of New World bosses or New World enemies. A lot like Thorpe and our main baddie, who's a total I'm not gonna say baddie because maybe that's weird, but yeah. But there's a lot of cool stuff in it. It definitely fits the motif. So like a lot of these things that we're fighting mostly part of the story is fighting people that have come from the old world like we have and have been corrupted, and it's mostly led by corruption. This time it's led by something that has to do with the Void, and you'll learn a lot about that if you go do with those missions. I know they also talk about they work for a warlord, Varric the Hammer Iznov. I hope he has just a giant hammer. He just slams down. And there's a good chance that they're not going to be really friends to us because of a lot of that. They're seem pretty not savage-like. They seem very organized, but they also seem like they want to do bad things to you, just no matter who you are. So if you want to see more on this and you want to go explore whatever they have to offer you and go fight them, and I don't know, you could try to be their friends. I doubt it'll happen, but head down to the southeast section of the map. I believe there are 3 areas that sort of touch it, but the main one is Reekwater. So go down to Reekwater. I think a lot of these quests start at a late level, somewhere around like 55, 50. Maybe earlier, maybe later. I'm not fully sure, as, I mean, obviously this came out as a lot of us were either fully leveled or close to fully leveled. But go venture through Reekwater, and you'll most definitely run into them eventually. Okay. There are a few things in the patch notes I'd also like to highlight before we totally end this video. Other than the new weapon and the new enemy faction, I think there's a lot of cool stuff that I'll get to it in a second. But but there's something I want to talk about, and hopefully as I talk about it, not get too animated. We'll see. So, for instance, the big one is the new PvP flagging bonus. I've talked about some of the changes since the closed beta to the release that I've both not been a fan of, but also, well, I'm not even gonna say understand. This is one that I think has truly was a big mistake by the devs, and I don't say that as like, oh, I hate these guys, because I obviously don't. But I think it was a big mistake, and I think they're trying to work on things to fix it, or to give other opportunities without making a total flip. So, if you flag for PvP now, there is a bonus. There's a bonus that you get there's a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about. I have these in my notes here, but essentially you get a pretty big bonus. You get like 10% luck overall. You get a 10% luck bonus overall. You also get a 30% bonus luck on harvesting. Now, it says harvesting in the patch notes, but I'm pretty sure it's all or it says gathering rather, but I'm pretty sure it's everything in the mining and the logging and everything. I'm like 99% positive it actually goes towards those. It's hard to track, but I've been getting a lot of really rare stuff that I wasn't getting before while PvP flagged, and we've had people that have also reported back to me that they've been getting the same. So like 3 of the rarest gems would drop from an orichalcum node that they wouldn't even get anything above like a brilliant or something like that before that, which is pretty huge. So I'd say there's a big bonus there, and I'd say it's probably for everything. Back to, I wanted to talk a little bit about the whole scaling being removed thing. I kind of glossed over that, but I think it's important to talk about the reason that I think it was a big mistake to change what they had before in the closed beta with the whole scaling. It's a bit controversial, but I do think that if they were to keep it in, you would have seen a lot more people flag for PvP. So, if you walk around now, or if you walked around at the beginning of the game, you probably ran across, honestly, a few people that were flagged for PvP that were in their like 20s or 30s, while people were in their 40s or 50s. But before this, in the closed beta, you'd have several dozen per little section that were all just flagged because fights were even. Well, more even than they were by just the pure number crunching of what your level gave you as a bonus. A lot of people think that or have mentioned to me that they think that if you put the time in to level yourself, you should be able to win that fight. In my opinion, is if they were to leave the scaling in and you had put the time in to learn your weapon and to get better at stuff, you would win that fight because your experience would be the thing that helped you. But if somebody was good at what they did, or if somebody just knew how to fight better or had better tactics and they were under-leveled, they should still be able to have a chance to win that fight. They obviously changed that in the release of the game by not allowing much of a scale. This whole thing sort of adds a little bit more to that, and it gives people more of an opportunity to flag and get something out of it. It used to be just a 10% bonus, but the fact is you had more fun PvPing, so whatever. So, like I said, now you get those bonuses for PvP flags, which adds a couple things to just your overall entertainment in the game, I think, unless you're really, really not into PvP. But I think this is going to bring some people in to flag who wouldn't normally flag anyway because of those extra bonuses. The big thing is, I'm not sure how this is globally, but spots like that are usually populated by solo gatherers are going to continue to be populated by solo gatherers. Even if they're flagged, there's a good opportunity for you to make friends with them, especially, obviously, if they're on your faction, you'll be fine, but I've seen a lot of PvP sections that are people just trying to grind out some of the tokens or some of the nodes, and people are just like, hey man, I'm just trying to do my thing. If you don't want to fight, we don't have to fight. And they don't. But there's also the fact that if you do want to fight, it's pretty fair, because most of these sections will either be, like I said, solo, or they'll be in a small party, right? It won't be zergs like you see when people are doing PvP missions and stuff like that. So it'll be pretty good. I think it'll be less risk, but also a bit risky, and get your heart pumping, have some good times. It's not like you lose a whole bunch when you die, so it should be fun. Please let me know if you've had any different experiences, or if you've had the same experience and you've either enjoyed it or hated it. I'm genuinely curious, because I think everybody has a little bit of a different opinion here, so please let me know. Another thing is, I think there's a possibility that it is a way to battle botters. Very small possibility, but a possibility nonetheless. I seriously doubt that bots would risk flagging. Sorry, alleged bots would risk flagging because they could just die. But if they did, because of that extra luck bonus, then, well, you have the chance to go end somebody's botting time for at least a short amount of time. You know, it feels pretty good. But I will say that even if it doesn't do this, at least the people who are playing legitimately and without bots are getting a little bit more of an advantage so that they can help run the economy rather than the bots kind of ruining it. So hopefully that does something. If it doesn't, then I think Amazon's going to work on something new, but I think this is a good step in the right direction. So hopefully we'll see what we see. And please, like I said, let me know. Okay. I have a bone to pick with you, Amazon. For this next note, we gotta talk. Not really. It's not really a big deal. But I did suggest, as you're about to see, quite a while back. It's here on YouTube. I'm sure it's somewhere on Twitch as well. And the YouTube video is over a month old now. I've said it. Here it is. Even though I mentioned earlier that speeding up players is a bad idea, I do think there's a little bit of wiggle room in some parts of the game. I think that if Amazon wanted to add something to alleviate some of the complaints about travel time, there could be an argument to be made that a small speed boost given to players as they travel along roads would be interesting. Yeah. You could run faster when running on a road. Something I suggested a few times. I actually suggested this back in the closed beta. There's a time I was in the call. I mean, I may have been live. I don't remember, but I know for a fact that Sequisha, Sacriel, Grims, and maybe one other person, maybe one Peg, were all live while we were in the call together. And that was one of my suggestions was, hey, I don't think we need mounts. I don't think we need to get better speed everywhere. But I do think it'd be really cool if they gave a speed bonus to running on a road. And I think like Sequisha talked about how hard that would be in dev. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually going to be very difficult in dev. But here it is. They did it. So right now, you get a 10% bonus to movement speed. It will not trigger unless the player has been running on the road for at least 3 seconds. If you're hit with anything, you're in combat, you get debuff. If you dodge, if you block, if you attack, it will cancel your movement buff speed. But thankfully, it only takes 3 seconds of running to get it back. This is awesome. This is pretty much to a T exactly what I thought should happen. Now, I'm not going to take full credit because I do believe that there's a chance that somebody in the Amazon dev team had thought about this way before me, but obviously they couldn't say anything to the public. I'm sure another content creator has probably said something like that too. But I am both. I'm not salty, I promise. I'm not salty. But I am glad that an idea of mine was put into the game. I think that's really cool. So hopefully you guys notice the difference. Hopefully everybody here notices the difference. And hopefully it is beneficial. I think a 10% is not much. I don't think it changes too much. I think it's a perfect amount. It's another reason to not have mounts. It's not something that gets you lightning fast around the map. So to talk about the problems that we had in that video, go watch all the problems I had in the video for having mounts. This doesn't quite create those problems, which is nice. And it allows for less annoyance in running back and forth, especially if you run out of Azoth or something like that. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. I am glad they put it in, and hopefully the check's in the mail. Okay, finally time for the other changes. There have been a lot of other changes that have happened to the game in this patch, along with bug fixes, including new PvP faction missions, which give more focus on fort combat. So over the development of the game, there have been more and more reasons to fight for the fort. There have been many times where people would fight for the fort and not really gain any standing or territory. I guess influence towards waging war, which sort of became this kind of thing that with a lot of people, I talked about it a lot. I'm like, why are we fighting for the fort when it kind of doesn't mean anything? We just need to wage war. So now it's more being forced. Is that a good thing? I don't know yet. I haven't really been in a fight like that yet, but in theory, it's okay. I don't have a problem with it. So I would pay attention to what's going on there, and if it makes sense or if it's a problem, like please say something and I'll try to report it to the devs. But hopefully what they see is that it's more combat and more things to have done, because not only is it's not exactly super easy to see when somebody's gaining influence in your in one of your territories until it's, you know, had a significant chunk, and you're like, oh, that's definitely different. But you'll be able to now just look at the map and be like, oh, they're at our fort fighting at our fort. Or they just took it over, or what have you, because they're kind of forced to do that. Before, that happened a lot of the time anyway, but if you wanted to be stealth, you didn't have to do any of that. Now you kind of have to, so it raises, well, quite literally a red flag to somebody's trying to take over your territory, at least wage war on you. So it's good. It should, in theory, hopefully also slow down the waging of war, because people from the defending factions will be able to be flagged easier, be alerted easier and faster, so that they can go defend it, and maybe they can stop a war from being waged, which for a lot of people is probably a good thing, because I've heard lots of complaints about there's just too many wars being waged. This game seems like it's for a lot of people, it seems like it's very much a chore to play, and I think the devs don't want that. I don't want that. I think that it's a good idea to have it sort of this way. I don't know what it's going to be like in practice. There's a severe doubt, because we're talking about, you know, gamers here. So we don't know if that's quite going to happen, but in theory, that makes a lot of sense. So hopefully it does go that way. So some of the starting missions near the beginning of the game have been changed a little bit to ease a little bit of headaches with some of the questing being done. One of the forge missions to forge your Azoth staff has been moved. So I don't know if there was a major reason for that. Probably because it was a little difficult to get into for like really low level players, but for the most part, that's been moved. So you'll see that if you get to that, if you have a new character. Some of the missions like Old Stone Remembers has been changed. Old Stone Remembers, if you remember from one of my earlier videos, it is the mission or the quest that starts to get you out of your starting zone. So it's the beginning of taking you to areas that are not just your beginning area. So what I recommended in that video is, once you get yourself to Old Stone Remembers as fast as you can, if you want to play with your friends who didn't have the same starting zone as you, because again, that's when everybody from the starting zone start to meet at the same type of quests, or literally the same quests. So that'll get you there. I don't know what they changed in it, but it apparently has a significant change. And you just go to talk to Jonas, the fisherman, to get that. Another one is New Initiate Old Order. That's the name of the quest. That's also near the beginning of the quest line. I think it's what it has to do with the Azoth staff. So if you're in the middle of those missions, I think you have to go accept them again through Jonas. But if you've already done them, like most of us have, you don't have to. Nothing to worry about. But it is important for any new players or anybody going to a new server, especially in a new region. Yeah, so pay attention to those. It's not a big deal if you've passed it. Not something to worry about. One last thing before I go, though. I haven't been able to look too deep into this, but it has been put to my attention and is rather important. So this is an important note. I should have put this maybe at the beginning of the video, but it's not huge for a lot of people. It may be huge if you're crafting furniture, or if you're just trying to level your furniture crafting, because this is where it hits big. So somebody from the cave, I'm not going to mention who, just in case it's totally false, but I don't think it is. They're trusted. I trust them, so hopefully you guys will trust them too. There have been some changes in response to people duplicating trophies, crafting trophies. Amazon has changed changed all the furniture so if it's labeled furniture, you craft it or you have it, it gets turned into a quest item. What that means is you cannot salvage it, you cannot trade it, you cannot do anything with it other than have it on your person and try to place it in your house. But because there's so many limitations, it does make it hard to place it in your house. So this is meant to prevent players from duplicating these trophies and then selling them. So basically, if you do dupe it, you're just stuck with more weight on you, and you have an extra trophy that you don't have anything to do with. It's one of these things that I've seen a lot of devs do recently in the past couple years, which is respond heavily to the cheaters or the people not playing legitimately, and thus punishing every single legitimate player at the same time. It sucks. I'm sure that it has to do with the fact that it is hard to get to just cut off a problem while having a creative solution so that everybody's happy, except for the cheaters and except for the exploiters, right? This is meant to just cut everything off. As you've seen, they've cut off the economy a couple times for that same reason. You can't just nip it right in the bud. You have to just, stop all flow of everything, put the dam up and just stop it all. So, the best way to level your crafting of furniture, level your furniture crafting level, the safest way, and the best way, but the safest way is to make stain. Doesn't give you a whole lot of XP, I know. It's expensive still, I know, but it is pretty much the only safe way to level your furniture XP right now until they fix this. So just make stain. It stinks, but honestly, for me, I would just hold off on creating furniture. That also stinks, but until they fix it, it's not really much we can do. So, like I said, this information came from a trusted community member, so I do trust that that's how it works, and it's kind of broken. Hopefully they fix it soon. So, the thing that hurts you, I kind of mentioned this, but to be clear, how it hurts you is you create these objects and you cannot store them. You can't do anything with them. If you create it and you don't place it in your house, it's stuck on you. You now have ghost weight, essentially. So there have been many people who have like 100 weight on just furniture, and there's no way to get rid of it. So, well, there is obviously, but if you can't just fill your house with random chairs over and over again, it just doesn't work that way. And lights are a big deal too. Don't make lights. That's even worse because there's a very small limit of lights you can put in your house. With that being said, I want to say thank you for watching this video. There are some really cool updates and really interesting content coming to New World and has already been here, so more to check out. I can't wait to see you in the next video. And please keep exploring Aeternum, and please keep letting me know what you think about these videos. I really, really appreciate it. So until next time, please have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week, and don't forget to subscribe on your way out. Until then, goodbye.